backwards, and it's not good for the NFL. Let's talk about that. Good morning, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Thursday, May 15th. Halfway through May, baby. We got a couple more months before we see some meaningful football. It's going to be lovely and awesome. But the Chiefs, Mike, the Chiefs are going backwards. What do we mean by that? We'll talk about it. But it's not good for the NFL, I'll tell you that. Appreciate you guys being here. Do us a favor. Click that like button. Help get this out to more people. Also, don't be afraid to get in the comments if you're lurking. Let's talk about the Chiefs. Mike, what I mean by the Chiefs going backwards is they're trying to get back to that offense of old. They don't want the stale, stagnant offense they've had for the last couple of seasons. They want to get out there. They want to push the football down the field. They want some firepower, and they want to start winning with some dominance instead of just close games every time, right?
Yeah, I feel what you're saying here. The Chiefs are definitely – a lot of teams want to go forward. You want to progress. You want to evolve. We want that as well. But there's some elements of the Chiefs' offense from years past that have just been missing. And you can see it. You can see it each and every week. It could be personnel problems. It could be a little bit of injury problems like it was last year. It's a little bit of a mind problem for Patrick Mahomes at times. It's a little bit of overthinking at times. He's admitted this himself. We've talked about this plenty of times to the chagrin of a lot of Chiefs fans. They didn't want to hear it, but Mahomes has actually said this. I'm overthinking. I'm not throwing the ball where I need to. Andy, Joe Blymeyer, those guys are all talking about how they're scared to game plan sometimes for Mahomes because you don't want to mess up. You don't want to do this. They've got to get back to what they were doing. I think they're starting to get there. It's a slow process because, again, you want to evolve. You don't want to backtrack. But I feel like this is where you have to go back and you have to nitpick little things that were working. You got to get back to it. And I think the Chiefs are doing that.
Yeah, for sure. One other thing that Patrick Mahomes mentioned was that he's been respecting defenses too much, which is funny because Patrick Mahomes always tries to be like super respectful and super PC in everything that he says. But I felt like that was him stepping out of his box just a little bit and being like, hey, you know what? I'm giving too much respect to the defenses. I don't think they're as good as they think they are or I think they are. I just need to take my shots downfield. I have guys like Xavier Worthy and Rice and Hollywood Brown that can make these plays for me. I have to give them the opportunities. Mike, there were several times last year when we watched the tape. That's why we talked about this with Patrick Mahomes, by the way. But there were several times where there were wide open guys or guys that at least had some separation, and he wouldn't even throw the ball. So I think a lot of it is Patrick Mahomes just getting out of that mindset and to stop respecting defenses a little bit too much and just take his shots. Give his guys the opportunity because I think they've put the guys in place that can make plays for him. He's just got to get that trust there, and the only way he can do that is to just step back and let it rip, bro. He's got to throw the football and let them make a few plays, and then he'll build that confidence back up. But I also think another thing that could help this offense get back to what it was, as far as that goes, is getting a running game more established and more consistent. So whether that's just making sure to give Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, or whoever's in the game so many carries per game. We have to at least have 20, 25 carries as a team every game. I don't know what has to be done there, but they have to have some type of a running game. And Andy, which according to Patrick Mahomes had mentioned, he wants to open the run game through the deep pass. But I don't think that's always the case that's possible. I think it's, obviously more normal for teams to open the deep pass through the run game. But if he wants to do it ass backwards, I'm okay with that. We just got to make it happen. I think I got to be more consistent with the run game. A lot of people wanted some kind of big running back in here, like a higher level running back than what we're used to having. But I think Isaiah Pacheco being on a contract year is just fine. Kareem Hunt is going to have a better season this season, in my opinion. He's not coming off the couch. He's going to have a whole offseason to work out with the team. So I think they have the guys there. And a lot of people are excited about Brashard Smith and what he can do. He's a dynamic guy. So my point is I think they have to focus just a little bit more on the run game to be able to focus on that deep passing game and a more explosive offense. What do you think about that?
I think the addition of Brashard Smith helps a lot. I think that gives us a little bit more of a Jerick McKinnon back that we have been missing. I've pointed this out time and time again last year. That was the one thing that we just couldn't figure out. Samaje Perine just couldn't get it done. It didn't look the same. He was fine when he got acclimated to the team later in the year, but the Chiefs just did not feel comfortable playing Perine the way they played McKinnon. They just couldn't find that. And so, getting back to your point about the deep ball, yes, the running game does help that. And I believe Brashard Smith, I believe Pacheco being a little bit more healthy this year. You've got plenty of options there now going out and signing the running back in the offseason that can flat out burn. That is a way that they can do this, and I think they're trying to open that up a little bit. But with the receivers, you drafted Jalen Royals. Like, you got a steal in the fourth round, at the end of the fourth round there. It was a gift handed to you on a silver platter because this kid isn't just any wide receiver. This was our number 8 ranked wide receiver that we got in the fourth round, basically the fifth round. You had guys like Savion Williams, Isaac Tesla, Pat Bryant, Ty Felton, Trey Harris. You had all those guys drafted before Jalen Royals. And I guess you could make a case at some point in the process that they could have outplayed Jalen Royals because of his injury there at Utah State. But when you look at the whole metrics, all the testing, everything, Jalen Royals was a flat-out steal at 5'11", 210. We've called this out time and time again. You're starting to see more people be like, oh, he reminds me of Jamar Chase. Well, I wonder who said that months ago. Like, who were saying that months ago? These guys. And running a 4.42 is a fast wide receiver in this league. I get it. You had guys like Matt Golden come in and run a 4.29. That was insane. But still, a 4.29 to a 4.42 is not that huge, drastic difference. It's like a snap of a finger. You know, it's an arm length, basically. Jalen Royals is fast because when you take that out of it and you look at just his 10-yard split, he ran a 1.49, which matched Matt Golden and was the fastest in the entire combine of every prospect that come out, Steve, at a 1.49. So this kid can flat out burn. He can fly. And at Utah State, he wasn't asked to do that kind of stuff because he didn't have a quarterback in the backfield that had an arm like Mahomes. He had to play within his offense. And now that Andy Reid and them can get him acclimated, open him up within a year or two, this kid could be running just as many deep routes as you got Xavier Worthy running. It's going to be hard for people to keep up, especially when Marquise Hollywood Brown can stay healthy. And that's what I'm really crossing my fingers for this season is Hollywood Brown to be able to stay healthy this year, and we get a really good season out of him because I think he's a game changer.
Absolutely, man. Shout out Nick Lowe with the 5 bomb. Says, keep us updated on Chew with the crew. What are your guys what do you guys think with the Rashi suspension? We'll definitely keep you up to date on Chew with the crew. So once we get something planned or figure anything out, we'll keep you in the loop. But the Rashi Rice suspension, I'm not so sure he's going to get suspended, to be quite honest about it. I mean, you see a lot of different things, but let's just say worst case scenario, the NFL does come out and suspend Rashi Rice for what happened a couple summers ago. Let's say 4 games. I don't see it being any more than that. I think that would be like maximum, which is kind of what we said the whole time. Like, if he gets suspended, it's not going to be more than 4 games. A lot of people were going crazy, thought he was going to be out for like 8 games or some ridiculous amount of games.
The season. People were saying seasons.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just everybody overreacting, I think. But even if he's out for, say, 4 games, which I think is like worst case scenario, Mike was just talking about a guy in Jalen Royals that I think can play that part. They can do a lot of different things. I think they have enough firepower on the team. I mean, you're still talking about Juju Smith-Schuster. I know that a lot of people act like he's old and decrepit, even though he's only 28, but I think he can still give you something. We saw that in a game last year where he had over 100 receiving yards and just went off. He can do that from time to time, so I think they're just fine. But appreciate the 5 bomb, man. And then we got Perry, member for 12 months now, says in the 3 Super Bowls, we ran for 100-plus yards in the wins, and in the 2 losses, under 100 yards. I think it's obvious what wins big games. Well, if you think back to the offenses that had more firepower and the offenses that were more exciting to watch and maybe even won games in a more dramatic fashion, not dramatic fashion, I should say, but more just dominant, we had guys like Kareem Hunt and his, when he was first started out, he was very dominant, I think. Compared to what he is now, it's not exactly the same. And then you also had Damian Williams, who was really good with the Chiefs, and I think he got a lot of opportunities. And even back with Jamal Charles, I feel like that was kind of a difference maker. When you have a guy like that you can rely on, give the ball to, it makes a difference. I don't know if it's the players, it's the running backs per se that have got Andy Reid so off the beaten path with just refusing to run the football, or if it's just Andy Reid and the cycles that he goes through. But I think they definitely need to establish some sort of a run game. They have to at least be respected, right? If defense can come in with absolutely zero respect for your run, like the Eagles did in the Super Bowl, then it's just a formula for disaster. I mean, you're setting yourself up. So I think you have to at least let defensive coordinators worry a little bit about your run game, and you can't do that by not running the football. So, yeah, I absolutely think that's a big part of it. But another thing is, Mike, for you to get back to passing the ball deep and being able to have these big chunk plays and be explosive like that, you have to have time. You have to have a little bit of time. I mean, if you go back to the biggest play, arguably, because a lot of people are going to say it's not, but the biggest play in Chiefs history, the jet chip wasp. Do we have time to run wasp? Mahomes asked the enemy, because he needed time to throw the football, to let that route develop, right? So that's what he meant when he said that. You have to have that time. If you want to take these deep shots, you have to have a little bit of time in that pocket. And Mahomes hasn't had that luxury so much without a consistent left tackle. He just hasn't. I think there were times where he did. Like, Tooney did a good job at left tackle, I think. For what he was asked to do, I think Tooney did an excellent job. But there were still times where they faced certain edge rushers or certain defenses, and they just didn't have the time to do that. If they can get Josh Simmons in there and healthy, or Jalen Moore pans out, and then say Kingsley or Wanye or whoever's at left guard, and they pan out, and Mahomes actually has some time and starts feeling comfortable again, I think that plays just as big a part as a run game or even having these dynamic receivers that we have.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, I think that's number one on the list. I think getting the left side of the offensive line is 100% the number one priority here in the offseason. You've got to get that hammered out. Whether it's Kingsley, whether it's Caliendo, whether it's Wanye playing left guard. Maybe it's a guy we haven't even considered yet. Maybe a guy like C.J. Hansen that got drafted, or Hunter Norzad slides in. Who knows? But you've got to find somebody that can step in. And we think Kingsley can do it. I honestly think Wanye could do it pretty decently well. I think a guard suits Wanye and Kingsley more than tackle does. At least left tackle. I think they both could play right tackle in some capacity and look a lot better than left. But Jalen Moore being signed in the offseason, he's probably slated in as that starting left tackle as of now. But Justin Simmons very well could sneak himself in there if he could come into camp healthy and he could actually be on the field. It's not cut and dry right there. But the Chiefs just got to find the best 5 offensive linemen that can keep Mahomes upright. That's what we've missed time and time again in our Super Bowl losses. And then going back to the run game, you do have to have a run game. You've got to you've seen what happened when the Eagles did not have to respect the run game.
This all goes hand in hand, right? It literally all works together.
You've seen what happened when the Bucs didn't have to respect the run game, because at some point the respect for a run game just becomes, well, we didn't have to respect the run game, but now we're so far ahead, you don't ever have to respect the run game, and now it's just tee off on Mahomes. The Eagles were starting to tee off on Mahomes before the first quarter was even over.
Right, Mike, it doesn't matter who the hell your offensive line is. It doesn't matter how good your offensive linemen are. You can have the best of the best over there. But when a defense with pretty good edge rushers does not have to respect a run whatsoever, and they pin their ears back and literally just tee off on Mahomes early in the entire game, they're going to win sometimes. It doesn't matter. If they don't have to respect a run game whatsoever, it doesn't matter who your offensive line is. So you have to have some kind of balance in that offense.
The Chiefs had a lot of self-inflicted wounds. I mean, let's be honest. You can't, if you're bleeding out, and the Chiefs were, you can't sit there and stab yourself a few more times. Like, come on, you're not going to survive doing that. And we did it over and over again. We just kept gashing and it just, we couldn't stop it. Instead of and what stops some of that every once in a while? What stops momentum for a team? It's to come in, it's to establish a long drive, it's to keep their offense off the field, it's to establish a run game, it's to start winning in the trenches, play a little bit of bully ball, and stop the bleeding, get it going in your right direction. And instead, it was quick 3 and out, turnover. And the Chiefs just kept stumping their toes, and they have to do better. And then going back a little bit to the run game, is it because of our running backs that Andy won't do it? If that's the case, we need to really evaluate Pacheco in the offseason. Is he going to get that contract here? Because 4 years, I don't think Pacheco's played that bad. But if it's to a point to where that Andy Reid is just not comfortable running the ball with your feature back, then he can't be your feature back anymore. I'm sorry, you just can't do it. So he could be a nice piece if Pacheco wants to stay around and you want to turn him into a McKinnon-style back, and that's what he wants to do, but you're also going to get paid like that kind of back as well. So if he wants the big contract and everything and the Chiefs just aren't comfortable giving it, he's not going to be here. And I know that's a very elementary thought process, but that's something we need to consider, because Pacheco, I think this could be a nice bounce back year for Pacheco. But you've also got to ask yourself, if Andy's just not willing to give Pacheco 20 and 25 carries a game, which Andy don't really give anybody that, let's be honest. If you go back to like Brian Westbrook, LaShawn McCoy, the game was just a little different then. I think the rules and everything have pushed the game so far forward that you're talking a feature back in this league barely hits 20 carries a game, and that's Saquon Barkley. How many did he average? 20 carries a game tops? So the Chiefs aren't doing that with a Pacheco. You're going to get 10 to 12 to 15, and that's about what he averages. But with Andy, sometimes Pacheco's lucky to hit double-digit carries.
Right. It's just something that they have to figure out. I think, like I was saying, everything kind of goes hand in hand there, correct? Like, you have to have a run game. You have to have the respect from the defensive coordinator that you will actually run the football. You have to have the receivers, which we have those guys in place now. I think what Xavier Worthy was able to accomplish in the back half of the season last year, I think makes you feel a lot more comfortable about how he's going to be as a pro. Just the way that he progressed throughout the season. It kind of reminded you of Rashi Rice's rookie season, where he kind of hit this point and just he started feeling good. He started feeling comfortable. And I think so. We have those two guys now. Hollywood, if he can stay healthy. And then the new guy with Jalen Royals. You got the old guy with Juju Smith-Schuster. I think you're good there. And I even think Travis Kelce is going to have a better year than he had last season. A lot of people talk about Travis Kelce having a down year last year, but Travis Kelce's down year was better than most tight ends' good years. But I still think that Travis Kelce is going to look a little bit more like himself this coming season. I think his focus is back in place. It looks like he's working on himself a little bit. He's dropped 25 pounds, according to him. And he's looking a little bit better. Maybe he can get back to that game that we're used to seeing. There were too many games last year where Kelce was a non-factor. And I think that Kelce has to be a factor on this offense for this offense to click, because that's always something that has helped this team out. Was you had to account for Travis Kelce. You had to double team Travis Kelce, or else he's going to eat you alive. I think there were times last year where teams just didn't care anymore, and they could focus on different things. I think this year they get back to having to respect that, because they should be able to stretch the field out quite well, and he can get back to doing what he's good at doing, finding the soft spots in zones, or just playing backyard football with Patrick Mahomes and being on the same page. I noticed last year they were completely just off. Like, all that chemistry there that has been so prominent throughout their career, probably the best duo to ever play football. I just think it wasn't there last year. They were never on the same page. Whatever that might be, that caused that, I think maybe they can get back to normal with that. And this offense could look totally different. It really could. And it's really up to Andy Reid, isn't it? It's how he allows Matt Nagy to call the offense. It's how he chooses to call plays. All of it there's so much that goes into it, Mike. There's not just one little ingredient that's going to change everything. But I think a lot of different things have to come into play here.
Yeah, I think when you really just sit back and look at what the Chiefs did last season, and I know it was tainted by the Super Bowl blowout, basically, and you're going to hear all the haters in the league, the people that said they don't want to watch the Chiefs, and the Chiefs getting 7 primetime games this season, and nobody cares about them. Believe me, they hate watch them. This is what they want to do. You know, they come up with the narratives that we get all the calls, the league cheats for them. It's everything that you hear losers do. It's the excuse playbook written out right in front of us. But if you really look back at what happened last year, minus the Super Bowl loss, the Chiefs had a phenomenal season, and they did it despite all odds. How big is it if I tell you that you have a team and your number one wide receiver and your number two wide receiver are gone for the entire season just about? Like, you're just done.
Right.
You don't have them. Your number one running back will be gone for 10 weeks, and you're going to have to sign a guy off the UDFA that nobody wanted, or not a UDFA, but the free agency wire that nobody wanted, and he's a little older, and he had some legal troubles. You're going to be like, what? And then, yeah, and by the way, your tight end is, you know, he's not really paying much attention this year. He gained a little weight. He's not really feeling himself this year. Like, it's pretty amazing what the Chiefs were able to pull off last year with a rookie wide receiver that weighed 169 pounds.
And plug and play left tackles on top of that.
Yeah, and you had a revolving door at left tackle that you eventually had to pull a left guard over. And Joe Tooney done a heck of a job. We said that all year. And Tooney was actually the MVP of the season, voted on by the team. He was the team MVP for what he was able to do. But at the end of the year, like I said, it just all culminated into putting a lot of that on film. The Eagles find it. I think the Eagles went back and looked at that Super Bowl with the Bucks too, and kind of mimicked a few of those things because they seen the same weaknesses there.
Well, why wouldn't you? If you're playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, why wouldn't you go back to the game that they had the most trouble and just try to
well, you would have thought Andy would have done that and been like, if this were to happen, how would I stop it this time? And that never occurred to him. I don't think he may have been looking back at Rose Bowl plays from 1922, but he didn't go back and look at that Bucks game and be like, if this situation were to happen again, how do I stop it?
I find it hard to believe, though. Like, every person on this planet, now there are a chunk of people that we've even talked to on this show, Mike, in the chat or what have you, that don't get it. But I feel like most people knew all they had to do was run the football early. Or even, you know, change up the offense to where we're going to get rid of the ball fast. Let's screen pass. Let's do whatever we got to do.
I will say the Eagles took that away pretty well, though. The Eagles knew that they were going to quick pass a lot. I think what happened is that Mahomes got into a position where he had to hang on to the ball a little longer. And then Andy wanted him to hang on. I mean, Andy come out and said his game plan was he wanted to throw the ball deep, which is very odd. We didn't do it all season. Why would you have just switched it up so hard?
That's a hell of a game plan to go with in the Super Bowl.
It's a wild one, knowing that you got to make shift offensive line.
If that's your only, you know, I know that's not Andy's only game plan. I know that it had to occur to Andy that he had to establish a running game. I know that it occurred to Andy that he had to get the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hand faster. I just don't know why it was never even attempted. It looked like it just never. Well, nothing changed, right?
Look, you can't be down 17 points and just run the ball for the second time.
Well, yeah, exactly. You kind of screwed yourself.
So
already.
The run game was not a priority to Andy Reid. They got themselves in a mess quick.
Yeah, Slim in the house says Pacheco can't handle 25 carries a game. He's not Larry Johnson. He's kind of small, and I would agree with that. But between him, Kareem Hunt, and Brashard Smith, and even Elijah Mitchell, you can easily get 25 carries in a game. Like, that's not a big deal.
Yeah,
and I think they can all do it with fresh legs.
Yeah, he's not necessarily that feature back that's gonna do that.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, his running style, and he's tough. He should be able to. I think he holds up on 15 to 20 carries a game pretty easily. And again, they had you know, you got Carson Steele back there. You got these big body guys that can give you 5, 6, 7 carries a game.
Andy's known for running back committee, right? I mean, that's what Andy's been doing for the longest time. So I think they continue to use that. It's just the fact of the matter of, like, putting a little bit of focus on the run game and not just forgetting it exists.
Do you think the Chiefs, though, want a guy like that? Wasn't it odd that the entire draft process, they were talking to guys like Damian Martinez, these big-bodied backs that could run these 20, 25, 30 carries a game. And then in the end, they went back with Pacheco part 2. They went back with Brashard Smith. Not saying he's actually Pacheco, but he's more of the guy that's not going to carry the load 20, 25 times a game.
Right.
So I thought that was a little odd because I thought they were in the market for that big back that could carry that workload.
Yeah, I mean, there were guys like that they could have drafted. They could have grabbed Caleb Johnson from Iowa. That's a guy that gets better throughout a game. The more carries he gets, the better he gets. There are a couple guys they could have grabbed, but I just don't think that's in the cards for Andy Reid. I don't think that's what he wants to do. I don't think that's what he's going to do. But he does have to focus more on a run game, and it's got to be a little bit successful in order to do what he wants to do. And obviously, Andy Reid's not an idiot. He knows that. I do think he'll figure that out and figure out how to make that happen. P. Water in the house says the guys looked beat before the Super Bowl even started. Any ideas why they looked so lethargic? Yeah, man, just a couple off the top of my head. And we won't talk about this much because I'm over the Super Bowl. Like, I'm on to the next season. But I think that it was a lot of football being played in the last, going to 3 straight Super Bowls is insane, right? So, I mean, I think a lot of the guys were just tired. And then on top of that, they played tougher competition to the Super Bowl. They had tougher games. I mean, we talked about that last night, Mike. The Eagles were out there beating the piss out of the Washington Commanders, getting a freebie in the NFC Championship game because they just happened to play a team that was somewhere they shouldn't have been. Not that the Commanders were a bad team, but they weren't that level of a team. They didn't have that experience. They completely buckled under the lights in that NFC Championship game. So, I mean, the Eagles kind of had a walk, to the Super Bowl. And then on top of that, they had more to play for, essentially, because you probably had a group of guys that are going through the motions at this point. When you're at your 3rd Super Bowl, you're going through 2 weeks of media and all the hype and everything. They're just going through the motions. Where the Eagles, they had a purpose. They got their ass beat by that team just 2 Super Bowls ago. So they were ready to come and get some revenge, and they had some focus. I just think there's a lot of things that played into that. And then just on top of that, I think that a lot of the players we had last year just weren't focused to begin with.
It's always tougher to play as the big dog on top when everybody's targeting you because everybody underneath you can always find a way to get more motivated. The Chiefs are always on top. The real only motivation the Chiefs ever get throughout season, Steve, is just people disrespecting them being on top. That's basically the only motivation they can pull out. Besides that, everybody's gunning to beat the Chiefs. They will play their best game every time. That's just the way it's going to be. The Chiefs always have to be locked and loaded, playing A++ ball. And that includes when they're playing crappy teams. Like, I don't think they would have beat a Commanders team like that. The Eagles just don't really have a lot of teams that view them in the Chiefs spotlight. I know teams want to beat the Eagles, not trying to take nothing away from them, but there's no way that anybody's calling the Eagles a dynasty, right?
Right.
So people want to take down a dynasty. Steve, we see it all the time with, like, UK basketball. You go to different things like that. Like everybody that plays Kentucky,
they bring their A game. It's their
you can
Super Bowl,
Furman or something over here, and they're going to come into Rupp Arena and they're going to hit. There's going to be a little white boy off the bench hit 17 threes. It's just the way it's going to be. They're going to play the game of their life. That's just, you got to expect that when you're on top. You got to take everybody's best punch.
The Eagles had the game of their life. The Chiefs played the worst game of their life, and you see the results. So, but yeah, worst loss ever, Chiefer. I totally agree. Got Noosh in the house, his best Chiefs channel. Thanks for the gas, brother.
Appreciate you, brother.
Y'all just let the rest of the world know that. Get the word out about that, and we'll be doing just fine. But yeah, man, I think that this offense can get to that point. I have faith in Andy Reid, and a lot of people are worried about Matt Nagy, right? And they think he's a big piece of it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But let's get to Ron here with a 10 bomb. He says, I noticed the Bills have an easy schedule. Imagine that. You mean to tell me Josh got 2 rule changes, an MVP that wasn't his, and now an easy schedule? What will they give him next? Well, according to the media, it's time for them to actually win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think within a few years, Steve, they're going to usher them right to the Super Bowl and walk them in. They probably got his ring size already mapped out.
Yeah, I mean, they want the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen to win so bad. And, a lot of people think or talk about the NFL being scripted or the refs helping certain teams and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that you can't – I will never say that that's 100% incorrect. I don't think that's the case, but I do think that, little things happen sometimes that are a little odd, right? And maybe they stack a deck. Maybe that's the way to talk about that. It's not that they already have a predetermined outcome. It's not that they're actively cheating to make it happen, but I do think that they do stack the deck sometimes to make things go a certain way and make the business thrive, right? And for some reason, they're just really in on Josh Allen.
Well, do you do it just by sheer, what's it called? Like, you just do it. It's almost like you manifest it in a way. Because the league, you don't have to cheat per se per week. Like people will say, oh, they make all the calls. No, Josh Allen gets the calls that you guys claim Mahomes gets.
Absolutely,
Like,
100%.
Josh Allen cries
The way that
and
you claim
whines
Mahomes does,
the
yes.
way you guys think Mahomes does. Like, it's very obvious. The reason that Josh Allen doesn't get it is because the Bills are consistent losers when it counts. If the Bills ever won a Super Bowl and got to that dominant point that the Chiefs got, I don't even think they got to get to that dominant because I don't think Josh Allen's a very likable guy. I think you win one Super Bowl and then they have a successful season the next year, and I think America turns on him that quick, and he's very easy to dislike. Like, he's kind of a doucher. So you take all that and put it behind him. But anyways, if you go back to like the league manifesting, the league kind of puts together games and they put together these schedules. So whether they want to do it or not, they want to take advantage of the Chiefs. They put us in prime time and we get just a bang schedule that's just horrible.
It's the most of any team ever. 7 in one season.
And then you turn around and you get the Bills, who, yes, they open up against Baltimore, tough game. But then they get a couple division freebies with New York and Miami. They play the Saints, who Derek Carr's retired. They're not in any position to compete. New England's rebuilding, which is another horrible. They get out of the first 5 games, they play all 3 of their division, which their division is just complete crap show. And then they get to play Atlanta. They get to play the Falcons on ESPN. Like, if you're telling me Michael Penix and the Falcons are ready for prime time to beat Josh Allen, you're out of your mind. And then it comes that, like, the Chiefs in Week 9 are the first good game and the first good team besides the Ravens. So within 9 weeks, they get 2 out of 9 games. And then if you look at the second half of their schedule, they end the season in Week 17 with the Eagles. And if you go back before that, I mean, they play Houston and they play Cincinnati. So they play 4 decent teams. And I'll call them decent. The Chiefs and the Eagles are elite teams. The Ravens are a great team. And then they're going to play Houston and Cincinnati, who are borderline good to great, depending on if their defenses show up and how that works. So, I mean, they may have 5 really tough games. I think if Josh Allen and the Bills don't win 15 games this year, if they don't go 15-2, I think that's a failed season.
Oh, absolutely. But
I mean,
you can't.
It's a cakewalk over there.
You can't tell anyone that. They'll lose 6 games and everybody be like, they're still the greatest team ever. You know, Justin Flanders with the gifted membership. Appreciate you, brother. Shout out. Hope you're having a good one, bub. Good to see you. Yeah, man, there's just a lot that goes into that. It's insane.
Steve, you mentioned this, and I wanted to bring this up because the schedule got released. Chris Sims tweeted today and said it's crazy how intense the Chiefs' schedule is. 7 nighttime games, Thanksgiving, Christmas Day. The lack of routine really jumps out here. They don't play in the same day or time slot in consecutive weeks until mid-December. Season's over by then. And Reed and Mahomes and the whole crew embrace it and never use it as an excuse. Chris Sims has been one of the only non-Chiefs haters. Like, he's the only one that's got the Chiefs derangement syndrome out. Like, he's figured out a way to purge it out of his system. I think it's easy to see that the league, and again, this goes back to, do the league sway things, or do they do it? Are they not swaying it intentionally, but they're doing it unintentionally? By making the Chiefs such a focal point, you are essentially making it harder for Andy Reid. And it's incredible how the Chiefs have embraced this for 2 to 3 years now. And they're still putting together 15-2 seasons with their number 1 running back injured, their number 1 and number 2 tight end injured, and you just go down the board what they've been able to accomplish. It's incredible what the Chiefs have been able to pull off, and this year should be no different for people. I do understand that over time it feels like your luck can run out, but I believe that if your luck runs out, yes. If our luck would have run out last year, we very well could have only won 11 games.
Right.
But at the core of it, you got to be a really good NFL team to win 11 games. So if the Chiefs have run into some of those struggles this year and we don't win some of those close ones, yeah, maybe we don't go 14-3. But I don't see how anybody says this team can't win 10 or 11. Now, I don't know if 10 or 11 could get you a home field bye in the playoffs and continue the Arrowhead Invitational, but I don't necessarily know if the Chiefs actually need that to be able to win a Super Bowl year in and year out. I don't think they need that home field advantage.
No, I don't think so. They proved that the year before last, right? I think that's they proved that. They went on the road and went through a gauntlet of teams to win that Super Bowl. That was a crazy one. But Pepe here, he says all we need to do is get to the playoffs. Let the rest of the league care about the regular season. And I think the Chiefs do that to a certain extent. I think they've always been that way. Andy Reid's number one goal every year, the first thing they do, they have it in line, win the division. So win the AFC West. That's the number one thing on their list. That's all they're focused on throughout the season is winning the AFC West. They get their spot in the playoffs, and then it goes from there. Once the Chiefs get in the playoffs, Mike, at any time, whether they have a bye or not, they could roll off 4 games in a row or 3 games in a row. They can do that. They have that ability. If you have the best quarterback in the league, the best coach in the league, you can always, roll off 3-4 games in a row. I mean, that you also have the best defensive tackle in the league, arguably the best tight end in the league if he gets back to himself. So, I mean, there's so many pieces there. The Chiefs just have to put themselves in a position to make a run at the Super Bowl, and they're always going to have a chance there. Casey Lion Squad with a 2-bomb says the Bills play the Steelers with no quarterback. Yeah, I don't know what the Steelers are trying to do. I'm not real sure what they're doing with their lives.
I think Tomlin wants out. I think everybody's acting like they wanted to fire him. I think he just don't want to be there. I think he wanted to get fired, so he's just going to try whatever he can at this point.
Right. Sam says the Chiefs play better on the road anyway. It does seem that way a lot, doesn't it?
In years past, it's looked like that almost every time we play at Arrowhead. It's just a weirder. I don't understand it, to be honest, Steve. Do you? Is it something where maybe
I don't know.
They rely on the home crowd a little too much in Arrowhead? Like Andy relies on him a little too much. He gets a little too cute. He thinks at the end of the game it'll just happen because the fans will get involved. And
it could kind of be one of those things
magic.
Where you get yourself outside of your daily routine and you can focus more. Like if you're at home and you're just going through the motions and you got to go to work, it's like, you just kind of get in that funk, right? Where you just go to work, get your job over with, and go to the house. Now, if you get pulled outside, you have to go away from yourself.
Trip, huh?
Right. You're more focused. You only have that to focus on. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. Pepe also said pressure makes diamonds. Let the league do whatever they want. Do you think that it's kind of the league shooting themselves in the foot every year by giving the Chiefs all of this pressure, all of these primetime games, letting them play under the lights, letting them get comfortable playing under the lights with everyone in the world's eyes on them? Does that help them when it comes to playoff time to where they're calm, cool, and collected, even in pressure situations? Is part of that the league's fault where they're just giving them so much practice at it that it's almost second nature to these guys?
Yeah, because your main guys. I mean, look, the coaching staff's done this forever. Matt Nagy's been a head coach. Andy Reid is a Hall of Fame head coach. He's been here thousands of times. Mahomes has now done this forever. Kelsey's done this forever. Chris Jones, all of our staples. What you're doing is allowing our young guys that have to play big roles at the end of the year to grow up very quickly. And the young guys really will get this. The first few weeks, they're going to be a little starstruck and they're going to do some stupid stuff. But this is what's going to happen. I think it really does help the younger guys. And like I said, Mahomes could play every game on ESPN in primetime, or he could play every game to 12 people in a parking lot.
Yeah.
He's going to play like Mahomes. That's the way it is. I don't think you have to fire up his competitive nature, but sometimes those younger guys have to learn this, and the best way to do it is just throw them in head first without knowing how to swim. They'll figure it out.
Absolutely, man. Got a freaking 20 bomb from Matthew here. He says,
brother.
Any truth to the rumors Bill Belichick is in Taylor Swift's DMs? I hope so. I hope he's just old, eating too much Bluetooth, horned out of his mind, just going after everybody. Maybe he's shooting for the stars here. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. But he also says, do any of the players on defense that were drafted will actually help Chris Jones in getting more single coverage as far as not being double teamed all the time? I don't. First of all, the Bill Belichick and the Taylor Swift thing. What do you think about it, Mike?
I've never heard of this. I
haven't either. It's supposed to be a new development.
Is Bill just out here? I don't think Bill's on the prowl. That girl he's with now would probably decapitate him.
Yeah, I feel like
he seems like a little bit of a psycho.
Yeah, I feel like she's got him under her thumb right now.
Maybe he is in the DMs. Like, can you help me? You're Taylor Swift. You're very
Maybe
powerful.
he's just trying to get some of those Pop-Tarts. You think?
I mean, I would want to try Pop-Tart.
I can hear him now. He's like, yeah, those blueberry Pop-Tarts are pretty good.
He says, Pop-Tarts, please.
Those look pretty good. But as far as Chris Jones here, man, I don't know. I think Chris Jones is always going to get all the focus. I think he's going to get double-teamed a lot no matter who's with him.
Yeah, you'd have to put him next to, Christian Wilkins or whatever his name is. Like, that's the only way you're going to get this guy to not get
I don't even know that. I think you could stick Deron Payne in there with him. He's still getting double teamed.
Yeah, they probably would.
So I just think that's inevitable. But I think what that does is make it better for guys like George Karlaftis and these young guys that are going to be coming in. I think there's a couple guys at defensive tackle that could really be game changers for us if they were to be able to perform at a high level, if they do fit in well and they do take that step from college to the NFL. And that's Omar Norman Lott, obviously. And then you also have the UDFA. If he can make a spot on this team with Kozai Izzard, that kid's got a crazy first step too. They're both more than capable with the first step and the speed to get after quarterbacks, put the pressure on, and even convert and get some sacks.
I think the kid we picked up last year, UDFA, Fabian Levette, still has a nice chance to play meaningful snaps in this league. Is he still with the Chiefs?
I've
not really kept up with his story to see where he's at right now. But
right. There's a lot of different options there.
Yeah, he didn't get a run with us last year, but at certain times I thought that kid could have got over the hump there a little bit. So I'd be curious to see what happens with him this offseason and see if he can get over the hump here in year 2.
Yeah, and then I just think if they have a better pass rush altogether, it's going to help Chris Jones, right? Because, I mean, if George Karlaftis is getting home, if Charles Omenihu has a good year, if Omar Norman Lott or maybe if Izzard even makes the team, if they got a guy like that has that quick first step and can cause disruption in the middle, I think it all is going to play in the favor of Chris Jones, because when you're focused solely on Chris Jones and you're getting no one else home, then it becomes more easy for offenses to deal with. But I just think they have to do that. And then, of course, Spags is always going to have his blitz packages and make things difficult for offenses. And I think we'll continue to see that with Nick Bolton being back. Leo Chanel probably going to have a breakout type year, in my opinion, if he gets the opportunities. Drew Tranquil's still around. And then, of course, all these corners that we have now with Christian Fulton, Noah Williams, and of course, Trent McDuffie. And Jaden Hicks is going to be playing a lot more snaps this year with the absence of Justin Reed, Chamari Connor. This defense should be very good. I think Spags is going to have a lot of fun with the group that he has this year, man. And if these corners, if they get McDuffie back in the slot and they have, say, Noah Williams, Christian Fulton out on the edges, or Jalen Watson, maybe they have more time to get home on that pass rush. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this year, man, with the defense, because the defense, they've kind of been our rock for the last 2 years, to be quite honest, maybe 3. And if the offense can get back to where they're not just 3 and out, and wearing our defense out, I think we could see a whole different level of defense, even though we've had top 5 for the last few years.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what we do with the corner room. You mentioned Noah Williams, but again, Jalen Watson, when he started last year,
he was very good.
He was very, very good. The injury kind of messed him up. He got burned a few times in the Super Bowl. But other than that, I do think it's him, and then I want to see how Christian Fulton gets in and adapts to this defense and what he can do with Spags. But I don't know if you instantly move Trent McDuffie off of that outside corner, because, I mean, he's still pretty locked down out there. We all know that he's a better slot guy.
Yeah.
I said when he was drafted, I mean, he was instantly a top 10 slot guy in this league, and right now he's probably top 2 or 3. So just everything about that quarterback room is weird. I thought not playing Joshua Williams a lot last year was kind of odd. I thought that was a choice. Sticking with Najee Johnson more was a choice at one time, certainly. But I kind of wonder, like, they brought Najee back. Like, do you wonder if, like, do you think, like, their first team would be, like, Fulton, Watson, and then it would be, like, Josh Williams, Noah Williams, the Williams clan? Or do you think it would be Najee Johnson, Noah Williams?
I think Najee Johnson is more sticking around for special teams purposes. I think it was very apparent to everyone last year that Najee Johnson is a special teams guy. What happens if they go into
camp, though, and they only take 5 corners? Who's the corner you're cutting there? Like, who do you think the Chiefs cut at this point if you only take 5?
I'm not for sure. So
it's got. Wouldn't it be between Najee and Josh Williams? And that just feels weird.
I think they'd just take 6 at that point, just for special teams purposes alone. But
Yeah, I don't think you would
we'll
cut
see.
Najee.
It's
because
just
of
another
special teams.
position battle that's going to be fun this year in camp. So it's going to be fun to watch what happens. Jeremy here says, I know Mike, Steve, and the ACU crew will have my back. I've missed the last few videos as I lost my 14-year-old son, Jeremiah, over the weekend. Ask you to hold my family in your thoughts. Man, I can't even imagine what you're going through right now. I'm not even going to act like I would. Just the thought of that makes me sick at my stomach, man. But very, very sorry that you're dealing with that. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, brother. But that sucks, and that's tough. Let's hopefully you can find some escape and just coming and talking football and hanging out with everybody, man. That's
I
rough.
don't even know what to say to that. That sucks. That's horrible.
Yeah, for sure. Thoughts and prayers with you, brother. It's a tough one, but we're all here. Swing in whenever you want to, and that sucks. But appreciate you guys being with us this morning. It's our first morning stream in a little while, I think. Did I do a morning stream? I think I did. I don't know. It feels like it's been a while since we did a morning stream. But appreciate you guys being here. Do us a favor. Hit that like button if you're here on YouTube. It helps us out. Also, if you're watching on X or Facebook, you can retweet that or share that with your friends and family. Do us a favor. Do that. It just takes a second. Help us get the word out. Help us get this channel rolling, baby. We're at about 45,000 subscribers now. So if you haven't done that yet, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, suggest you do so. It's going to be a fun year to ride with the ACU crew. Got to get back in the swing, man. The season's about to kick off. By all means, Mike, the new season is well underway. The draft is over. We already had the rookie mini camp. It's well underway, man. It's exciting. It's a fresh start. You can kind of put that stupid Super Bowl loss in the rearview mirror, and it's time to go out and seek revenge. And I think Mahomes has a hell of a year this coming season. I think we got a couple of candidates for a comeback player of the year with Rashi Rice and Isaiah Pacheco. So, I mean, it should be fun, man. It's going to be fun, especially with all these new pieces. I think the Chiefs nailed it in the draft, right?
What about Hollywood?
Hollywood's going to actually play, hopefully.
Yeah. I think we seen last year when Hollywood got back in there towards the end of the season, it faded out towards playoff time. It was very odd. Even the whole going out and getting DeAndre Hopkins and then Andy Reid not really like utilizing him in the proper way. I don't know, it just makes you wonder sometimes. It's like, are just certain body types and certain wide receivers just going to fit this, what they want? Like, does it have to be, a 5'10" guy, 175 pounds? Do you have to be that to succeed under this offense? Like, does it have to be that way? There's just certain things. Do you have to have a running back that's 5'8"? Like, what is it that you have to have under the Andy Reid offense that just keeps producing the same stuff? And then you get guys like D-Hop, like a Pro Bowl, a Hall of Famer.
One of the greatest to ever do it.
One of the greatest to ever play it, and just could not find a way to get him acclimated and become a threat. And I get that he's a little older, but the dude's not dead. Like, he was out there playing, and he was pretty much open a lot.
I just don't think they ever made him a focal point of the offense. I don't think they ever tried to.
Right, and I believe that actually got in his head a little bit, and you've seen him make uncharacteristic drops down the stretch. I think when you're not a focal point,
I think that's why for the price that you see him playing with the Ravens this year and not with the Chiefs.
Yeah, and we kind of mentioned that too. Like, if you're a big-time wide receiver, like, yes, Brett Veach don't pay you, but if Brett Veach was like, hey, I've got all the money in the world, come on over here. Sometimes I feel like our offense has gotten to such a funk and our play calling. Why do you want to come here and share that? They don't want to do that anymore. They want to be the focal point, and we're just not a team that's going to throw to a wide receiver more than 85 times.
It's not even about being the focal point, but I think just being utilized at all. I think that the underutilization of DeAndre Hopkins on your team was a freaking failure from this coaching staff. Like, 100%. And I mean, whether that was on the coaching staff or it was Patrick Mahomes, maybe even, it wasn't just throwing him the football. I don't think Mahomes is used to having a guy where if they're in man coverage, you can just throw the ball at him and he's going to make the catch. I don't know if Mahomes is necessarily used to that.
I've said this time and time again, Mahomes is not throwing tight windows very often.
Exactly. He don't
You just
give guys
do
a
it.
chance. But I mean, he said, "Hey, I got to stop. I got to stop. I got to start giving these guys chances." So we'll see if he can get out of that funk. Doug said, "Who is the Turk Wharton replacement?" I think we already talked about the two guys. I think it's most likely it's going to be Omar Norman Lott and maybe a long shot if Izzard makes the team as a UDFA. I think he kind of, I mean, he's 300 pounds and runs a 4.840, bro. Now he got some speed. He's got a quick first step. He got some burst.
I think the big one is who's the replacement that's gonna, you know what I mean? That's gonna take over the Mike Pennell role. That
Well,
big run
Pinnell's
stuffer.
still around. We got him in a year, baby.
Derek Nottie, that kind of stuff. Like that's
Isn't that
the-
where Fabian Levette kind of comes in?
that should be. I hope that he can do it because again, that's been the guy. Like we drafted Keandre Colburn, we drafted Derek Nottie. That's been the kind of MO of Brett Veach going after defensive tackles. And this year he decided.
You mean whiffing completely?
Yeah, and then this year he's decided I'm going to go after 2 sub 300 guys and let's see what happens. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Shout out Stuff and Animals, baby. He says, like up the stream, y'all. He also said, Mike, is that new flooring in your room? If so, it looks
Yeah.
good.
yeah, this is an entire new room, new drywall, new room, new paint job, new everything.
You basically just built that room again, right?
I did.
Hey, it's going to have you back, though. It is. I think everybody's excited about that. Chris from X. Shout out Chris from X. He says, if you two get this, keep Brown and give him a chance. What's your thoughts? I'm assuming he's talking about Hollywood Brown here. I think this is his chance, actually. You know, that one more year, another 1 year contract. I think, hey, stay healthy. Let's see what you can do. And then I think if he produces this year, I think that could turn into a multiple year contract after this season. So I think this is his chance. Do you think that he's going to cash in, Mike? Because personally, I think if he can shake the injury bug, I think he's going to play well with this team. I think he fits in very good in the Andy Reid offense, and I think he has good chemistry with Mahomes. So I think it's all about just staying healthy and staying on the field for him.
Yeah, he's only 27 years old, so I think if he has a good season, and I do believe he will if he does stay healthy. That's always kind of been the Hollywood Brown thing, is the injury bug a little bit. But I think if he gets a full season under his belt, I think he's good for at least – I mean, I put him over 65 receptions to like somewhere in the 65 to 75 range. I think he can hit a 1,000-yard receiver if you utilize him well. Again, the Chiefs will get in these weird stretches of times where Andy Reid the offense just doesn't look right for weeks at a time. And you kind of got these guys and then their numbers take a hit, offense takes a hit, everything kind of takes a hit. But I'm with you. At the end of the season, let's say he's 28, I mean, there shouldn't be no reason. I don't think he gets a nice 3 or 4 year deal somewhere. I don't know if it's in Kansas City because, again, Brett Veach just doesn't want to pay nobody. But
yeah, they tend to kind of stray from that with the receivers, right?
Maybe he goes up to like 14, 15 million a year after a good season, decides he wants to stay here, and he signs like a 3-year, 35, 40 million, and just kind of runs it here for a few more years. I mean, I wouldn't see that being out of the question, but if he has too big of a season, he's going to play himself out money-wise.
Potentially, yeah. Sam says, this is why we need a new young offensive coordinator, one that's not afraid to stand up to Andy and tell him what he needs to hear. Well, I mean, that's kind of been a discussion with the Eric Bieniemy to Matt Nagy thing. Like, well, maybe Eric Bieniemy just stood up to Andy Reid and told him hey, we're running the damn football, or we're doing it this way, we're doing it that way. And Matt Nagy's more of a yes man. That's been a conversation. So I'm not sure where that lies. We've kind of went back and forth on that. But I do think that some kind of a shakeup would be nice to this offense in some sort of way. And a new, younger offensive coordinator that's a little bit hungry and sees things from a different perspective, I think could be beneficial for the Chiefs. But we got Matt Nagy. And I kind of wanted to use that as a segue because I was talking about that before. Do you think that we're going to see the same exact offense no matter what? Because Matt Nagy is the offensive coordinator? Because a lot of people think that. They think that all of this is on Nagy. It doesn't have anything to do with Mahomes, Andy Reid, or anything. It's just Matt Nagy's offensive coordinator. It's not Eric Bieniemy, so they're gonna be slow. They're gonna be stagnant. I do think there's anything to that because I don't know if I'm 100% on that yet. I think that Nagy is part of the problem I think he's part of the equation. But do you don't think the team can turn it around with Nagy as an offensive coordinator?
They can, but I feel like it would have been nice to have switched that up a little bit and kind of got some new blood in here. I really do believe that may have been a thing. You even wanted that. You kind of wanted Liam Cohen. Of course, he got the head coach job in Jacksonville. Duval.
He's so weird, but he's done a damn good job.
But, yeah, he's not part of the Andy Reid coaching tree. It's just Andy likes to stick to his guys and who he's comfortable with.
We talked about Cliff Kingsbury. That would have been cool.
May have been something,
I think he ended up in Washington.
Yeah, he's there. So, I mean, I kind of think you're just stuck with Nagy unless you wanted to. And I actually thought they was going to promote from in the house if they would have done it. And who was it? Joe Blameyer. And then he comes out and says that he was scared to make a game plan.
That's one of the most disappointing answers to anything I've ever heard in my life.
I think that the whole entire staff has to look at themselves, and everybody within that, the offensive coordinator game plan, the passing attack coordinator, everything's got to come together a little bit better. And they've got to get a little more cohesive. And they've got to all sit down with Mahomes and be like, look, I'm not going to be scared. You're not going to be scared. What are we scared for? Like, these guys are incredible. Like, why are you scared? Like, don't be scared. If you're scared, go to church. Was that a rap song?
Hey, we're going to bring back the 90s. We're going to get Joe Blameyer one of those T-shirts or maybe even a little sticker for his vehicle that says "Ain't Scared" on it. Maybe we got to give him some. We got to give him some motivation here.
I don't know. Have more fun with it. I feel like the Chiefs have got to a point where the offense feels so stagnant that you're just not having fun.
Right. I agree. I think that was pretty apparent this season. And, like something else that the Chiefs have been missing, and it's not saying that they haven't tried it per se, but have you really seen them kind of use the way they use McCole Hardman? The only thing that McCole Hardman was ever successful at. Jet sweeps and kind of plays that weren't expected. You didn't even see the Chiefs doing a whole lot of that this year. And you have guys running 4.2 speed on the outside.
I don't think they could because they didn't have the luxury of handing the ball off to somebody like, the rookie, Xavier Worthy, and then him get injured when you've already got 15 injuries on the team.
Yeah, true.
I think that's where they could have maybe used Nico Remigio a little bit more often. And look, if Sky Moore's not your guy, like if you just want to look in the mirror, Brett Veach, and you want to say, look, I whiffed again with the Sky Moore thing. I think Jalen Royals is your redemption at that right now. Like, he's the guy that, like, could right the wrong of the Sky Moore thing. He's that style of player in a way. He's a lot faster, but he's that style of guy. Let's hope he can catch the ball better. I think you got to look yourself in the mirror and be like, look, it's time to just cut the ropes here, cut it. If he don't come in and perform well, then it is what it is. And I think you got to look at camp in a way too, Steve, that like people get really big camp hype every year. It's going to be Justin Ross's time to shine. You're going to see it a few times.
Here we go.
It's just not going to pan out. So if Sky Moore comes in and has a great camp, I don't think it necessarily means anything just yet. I think he's got to continue to prove that in preseason during games. And I believe if he don't, it's probably time to cut ties there and just move on. But you've got to get people like Nico Remigio and give him a shot. Let's see what they got, because I think Nico, even being on the field with Mahomes, is something a little bit better. And then you see Nico actually ball out in preseason games, and you've never seen that from the Sky Moores, So right. I think you got to get to that a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. But I am excited about the wide receiver room, just like Melissa and or Bucky or Malucky. Can we just call them that? They're excited about the wide receiver. I am too. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun to see. Got to get back to it. Andre says the air raid, baby. Maybe they got to get back to that. Get that mindset. That what they call it, Legion of Zoom. Like that was a thing for a while because that's what the offense was focused on. I don't feel like it's been that way at all. It's kind of turned into a dink and dunk and stagnant and just do enough for the defense to win you games. And that formula, it got old fast, and it doesn't work all the time. And you see what happens when you go that route. So I think it's back to putting points on the board, man. It's what it's all about.
I think it's a tough line to walk because you've got just as many people in Chiefs Kingdom that want to see the air game get back and the air raid and let's go crazy. You've got just as many people that want to see the run game and smash mouth ball and
It
get
goes
back to that
hand
a
in
little
hand,
bit.
though. You have to have one
It
to
does
have the
go
other.
hand in hand, but I feel like Andy Reid and them, it's really tough to walk that line in the NFL because you have 65, 75 plays a game. That's all you got. You've got to go with the flow of the game. You've got to go with situational football a lot. And I believe it's tough. That's why I think they go certain games and you'll go 5 or 6 games in a row and you have more of that air raid look, and then you'll get 4 or 5 in a row where you got to adjust and do something different. And I believe at the end of the day, it's hard to please everybody. You got to find that fine line, and I think you got to find one to develop into. But I think as long as Andy Reid's here and Patrick Mahomes, I think you're always going to see the air attack get a lot more priority than the run game. I just think that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, John Hill? Good morning. Good morning.
What's up, brother?
Sam says you can't pass block, you might as well run block. Well, I think that it's one of those things, man. Pass blocking's difficult when the defense knows you're not going to run the football. When they know for a fact, like, hey, they're not running the damn football, pass blocking becomes a lot more difficult. So I think it's just about finding that balance, right?
Steve, when you played in middle school, high school, what did you always find easier? I always found pass blocking easier than run blocking.
I didn't play enough offensive line to have an opinion. But yeah,
Really?
run blocking.
I always felt like run blocking was a little harder because, I mean, you know where you're going, so you're kind of going downhill. But pass blocking, you literally just kind of play, like defense on basketball. You just kind of get between them and just mirror them a little bit. It wasn't never that difficult.
That's true, but you put like elite rushers with a lot of speed, and they know that they have to respect no run game. It's literally tee off on the quarterback.
Yeah,
and that becomes difficult.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to say, like, these guys are way better than I would have ever been. But the point is like, growing up, I always felt like pass blocking was a little easier. So I feel like it should have translated throughout time.
Well, I can say from playing defensive end and when I played, if you knew that the team wasn't going to run a football, which was rare in high school.
Oh yeah, that was
but
super rare.
If you knew that and you were just teeing off on a quarterback, it made your life easier. You had one goal. You had one goal. It was to beat the guy in front of you one way or the other. And you have so many bag of tricks to do that with if you know you don't have to respect the run.
Right. Well, it works the other way, too. There were times that you knew the team was never going to pass the ball. So it was just crash gaps and cause chaos.
Exactly.
So you have to respect both. And I think
you have to keep a guy on their heels some way, somehow.
Yeah, it's a fine line there, man, for real.
Yeah. Melissa, Bucky, whoever. The defensive backs, we talked about it a little bit, but I really like the way that the defensive back room has kind of shaped up. I like the additions. The only thing that I see that's kind of a setback, if you will, was the loss of Justin Reed, which obviously we weren't going to be able to pay him. And I'm pretty excited about Hicks getting a lot more snaps. But I would say if there's anything there, you lost a big chunk of experience and some leadership. So if someone can step into that role and take that over, I really like the way the defensive back room looks. Because the corners, you kind of got, at this point, a lot of different options there. I mean, you could put Jalen Watson, Christian Fulton on the outside, put McDuffie back in the nickel. You could do a lot of different things. And then Noah Williams, man, that kid's no joke. He can play, and he brings that turnover possibility that, like, back when Marcus Peters was on the team and you just thought that at any minute you're going to see an interception. And then a lot of times when you were feeling it, it happened because he was just that damn good and he was always around the football. I think you get that from Noah Williams, so I think it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we're big time front loaded at the DBs, in my opinion, and I'll focus on corners, but I think corners are front loaded. I mean, you've obviously got Trent McDuffie; he's one of the top of the game. We've got to probably get him signed long term, but I think Christian Fulton was a great signing this offseason. I really do. He's got that big physical body type that he likes. Jalen Watson also is really good. So I think your front three with McDuffie, Watson, and Fulton are right there. Like you're amongst some of the best in the NFL right now at corner, which was a big step of last year. Last year it was McDuffie, Watson, and then who? And this year at least you put Fulton in the mix. You drafted Noah Williams. Look, I still think that Josh Williams does well in certain situations. I think his body type and everything, yes, he's going to get penalties. He is a big physical corner. That's what these guys get. Like, the league is just not allowing corners to be so physical nowadays. And you're just going to have to take that. You're going to have to take your lumps. but I feel like he is one of the only ball hawks in the backfield. Like, I don't feel like Najee and them want to be a ball hawk. They're just out there to smack a ball around, whereas Josh Williams will go try to pick it off. Noah Williams has that attitude. Christian Fulton now has that attitude. The Chiefs, they've still got Eric Scott Jr., who they picked up from Dallas last year. They got him, at the cut line and everything right there at camp. They got the UDFA. They didn't draft him, but Melvin Smith Jr., Steve, you called him out as a potential 7th-round pick, UDFA. They hit that one. There's plenty of Jacoby Covington. He's still on the roster. So they've got guys there. And then I think with the nickel, you've still got Jamari Connor, who's year 3. I think he does a little bit better. Christian Roland Wallace didn't play bad last year. You still got Darius Rush on the practice squad. He's still got a chance. So you've got a lot of names there, and you've got a lot of – I think it's a decent room. I really do think you could find a top 4 to 5 that's really, really good out of that. So I'm not too concerned with it. I would say right now, if I had to grade that room amongst the team, I feel like corners went from kind of a weakness to like one of our strong points pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be fun. I really like the way it is. Mary says play action is effective, surprising that offensive gurus favor the RPO so heavily. Patrick needs to give the ball to his running backs more. We've talked about that being a possibility too. Some of it could be a little bit on Patrick and maybe not reading the defenses the way he should, but those RPOs, they do kind of put you in a position to where you have to think quick. Most of the time that's probably you're probably 60% sure of what you're doing by just reading the defense, but you still have to make a split-second decision sometimes. And I think we've seen Mahomes make the wrong decision on the RPOs several times, one way or the other, whether maybe he shouldn't have handed that ball off. Or we've also seen a little bit of indecisiveness, and we've seen a fumble on a botched handoff here and there. I just think that's something that one's kind of on Mahomes. I think that's something that he's got to get better at. But I think that they roll with that RPO a little bit more just because it gives you a little bit more freedom. Like you have more time there. If you go in dead set on a play action pass, that's kind of where you're at with it, right? You're faking the handoff. So
yeah,
I think that's why they tend to roll with that one a little bit more. Brashard Smith's going to be fun. Sam Lofton, I think that's going to be a nice little piece. I think that Andy Reid's going to like using him. Love the pass catching ability. The fact that he was a receiver converted to a running back. I think they can seamlessly get him in the pass game. If they can get him up to par with pass protection and maybe get him to being that new Jerick McKinnon type guy, the sky's the limit for that kid, man. I think that could be fun.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that RPO thing a little bit. The RPO is a very odd concept because I get with Patrick Mahomes and the way we're designed, you like to do that, right? Like RPOs are just fun. You blend running plays with quick passing game, and that's what you see the Chiefs do a lot. It really does. It can make the offense can get flat out just hard to defend, but it is very complex. Everybody has to be on the same page. And one of the cons of an RPO, like the one of the biggest ones of RPO offenses, and you see it with the Chiefs, is protection. If you're trying to throw deep, that is one of the worst things an RPO offense can give for you is providing protection for deep balls. So why Andy has decided that he's going to try to manipulate an RPO into a deep passing game, I don't know why he's took on this challenge, but this is what he wants. He wants to make an RPO offense into a deep passing attack. It's an oxymoron, to be honest, the way it's ran.
Absolutely.
And I think this is a big feat. If the Chiefs can actually pull this off somehow, then maybe you do see like that evolving that we've been talking about. Maybe you finally see it like, hey, we've got to defend an RPO offense that can not only run and quick pass, but they can also just throw deep on you and crush you at any given time. Right. But I think that all revolves around the offensive line just got to get better. Yeah, it's just the way it is. That left side of the offensive line's got to get better.
For sure. Gary Holland in the house says, Mike and Steve, will that tight end that the KC Chiefs drafted and is from Clemson, do you think he will play this year? You can talk about the UDFA Jake Brenningstool. He's fun. He's intriguing. I actually had him in my top 10 tight ends. I had him around number 9, and then we collaborated on ours, and we kind of pushed him to the wayside a little bit. But the reason why we did that is because there is no such thing as blocking with Jake Brenningstool. He's basically a wide receiver. He's 6'6". He's athletic. He catches the football. The Chiefs can find something to do with him. He's very Jody Fortson-esque. He's got some Travis Kelce in him if you watch the tape. So I do think that that's somebody that the Chiefs can utilize. I don't know if they'll do it this year. I don't know if you'll see a lot of them this year. I think you're going to see, I've been saying this for 3 years, but I think you'll see a little bit more Noah Gray. But I also think Travis Kelce's going to have a better year this year. And then, of course, you have Jared Wiley that didn't get in the mix too much before he got hurt last year. So I don't know if you'll see a lot from Brenningstool early, but I would keep him around. I think he could be something in the future for the Chiefs.
Yeah, Brenningstool, he's a poor man's Colston Loveland in a way. Colston Loveland was 6'6", 248. Brenningstool's 6'6", 241. So he's right there with him. I thought Loveland was a little undersized at 248, but honestly, Kelce, when he came out, was 255, 250. So he's right around that mark. I think if not for Kelce, Loveland would have already not been where he's at. He owes his entire draft status to what Kelce was able to do and transform in the tight end game. But I think Brenningstool's right in that wheelhouse where he's a passing game threat. He's a weapon. He don't necessarily have to block in line and do things like a normal tight end would. You can kind of move him around, put him at slot, put him on the boundary even. He ran a 4.75, which is not bad. A 1.16-yard split, so he's not one of the faster guys off the line. There was only 4 guys that tested slower than him. So he's not very quick right off the line, like to get going. His vertical jump was actually the lowest of every single tight end that tested. It was 31, and I take that back. Gunnar Helm out of Texas was a 30-inch vert. So only one guy had a less vert, and vert translates into jump balls, red zone opportunities, explosiveness comes off the vert. So, I mean, there was a reason Brenningstool, in my opinion, went undrafted. I think we settled on him, Steve. We had him at number 13. And every single player above him, I think, was rated, actually got drafted, and he didn't. So we hit the nail on the head with where we thought he should go as a collaborative unit here. But will he play and be effective? That's on Brenningstool. Can he get in the offense, and how does he look? A guy that could be not very valuable for one team could be very valuable for another. So I believe if Brenningstool was going to get picked up, it was probably between us and the Dolphins. They seem to be.
There were 4 teams that were after him. 4.
Who
I don't know.
who, do you know?
I don't know. But there were 4 teams that were after Brenningstool, and it took a personal call from Andy Reid for the Chiefs to get him.
Yeah.
So I think they like him. I think they like what he has to offer. So we'll see.
It's a little too early to give up on Jared Wiley too.
Well, that, and I think, like you said, with Brenningstool being a UDFA and stuff like that, and having some limitations, it's all what he brings to the table, and he's going to have to carve out his spot on this roster. So it really it's
he's going to have to do something special, or otherwise it might just be practice squad.
Right.
Let the boy watch.
Boom. JCP with the 3 bombs. Says any word on Quaylon Jones? So I did read back, I think it was the end of April. It's been a couple of weeks now that he had intended on signing with the Chiefs. I don't know if they ever actually went through with it. Have you heard anything? Did they actually sign him? I know it was intended, but I'm not sure. But for those of you that don't know, Quaylon Jones, running back, he was from Stephen F. Austin, which he was transferred from Baylor. He spent 4 years at Baylor. He's a 5'10", 242-pound running back. He's not the fastest guy in the world. His 40 times somewhere between 4.6, 4.7, something like that. He's not a very fast guy. It's just one of those guys that you don't really know what you're getting. Kind of rolling the dice with him, right? Like it's almost like you have to hit the lottery for this to be one that would pan out either way. I think if they got him, if he did sign, you're probably looking at a practice squad guy at most, in my opinion. But then again, to be fair, I did not scout Quaylon Jones that much. So maybe he's got more to offer than I know of.
Yeah, Stephen F. Austin's official website says that he did sign.
Okay.
So it says he signed, and his Bruce Harmon, who was the other back there, because it was kind of a committee, he signed with Dallas.
Okay.
So apparently he did sign with the Chiefs, and, I mean, maybe that's a good short, Steve. You can give us 5 things to know about Quaylon.
Let's do it. I'll work on that.
Yeah, I want to know more about him. Let's go. I didn't scout Stephen F. Austin running backs. I didn't feel like I needed
Why?
to.
You're a failure. You're being lazy.
Um,
You have to dig deep. You have to go to
yeah,
the
and
Stephen F.
honestly,
Austin running back.
he's not even in my top 32. So I mean, there was a reason I guess he was a UDFA.
I don't know. We'll see, though. You never know, man. Chiefs can make something out of nobody, but then again, also, you can get all the hype in the world from a UDFA, like was his name Denarius Prince? Something Prince. I've forgot his name, Denaric
Don't
Prince.
forget Denaric Prince.
That just shows you what happens, even with the hype, man. John Hale, been a member for 9 months now, so it's good to see you back in the game, Mike. I'm looking forward to seeing how this draft class works out. Hopefully the run game is punishing. Yeah, for sure. Everybody wants to see that run game get back. Everybody wants to see the offense get back to not looking so predictable and so boring, and it's gotta. It just has to. You can't be in the midst of a dynasty with the best quarterback to ever play football and allow your offense to be stagnant. You just can't do that. That's a massive failure, and I think they've got to figure it out. And Andy Reid, I think Andy Reid can figure it out. If anybody can figure it out, it's him. But yeah, also looking forward to the draft class. I think that Brett Veach knocked it out of the park with this one. And obviously we always say Brett Veach knocked it out of the park, but there's so many other people that go into that, whether it's the scouts or Brett Veach's staff or even the coaching staff, Andy Reid and everybody. I think all together as a unit, they killed it in the draft this year. And hopefully it pans out because I think they gave themselves a lot to work with and some guys with some high ceilings.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs had a good draft this year. We never really did like a complete draft wrap up or anything like that, but I think the Chiefs got a lot of really good, value out of a lot of their picks. I think they hit a lot of needs, and it could very well be one of Brett Veach's best draft classes. I know a lot of people wasn't too thrilled with it. They thought we overreached on a lot of players. I can't figure that one out for the life of me because I thought we got great value on a lot of players.
I think the people that think that don't know enough about Ashton Gelati. They don't know enough about Jeffrey Bossa. I think if you go start digging in more to those guys and what they offer and what they've been able to accomplish.
Somehow, even getting Omar Norman-Lott at the end of the second round was a reach to some. That made no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't understand that one either.
Noah Williams, I heard that was a reach.
Yeah.
It was wild takes out there. I don't understand it. I thought the Chiefs had a very solid draft.
The Noah
class.
Williams pick is not surprising me at all. We were all over it that they were going to want to take its corner at that juncture in the draft. We just happened to steer towards Darian Porter, I think was his name, the kid from Iowa State. And he ended up going to Las Vegas, I think. But, they just happened to be going towards Noah Williams, who fell right into that mix, right? He was one of those guys that were going to go at that point in the draft. And we kind of thought that was a hot spot for corners.
And honestly, I believe if I would have looked, I scouted Noah Williams a little bit. Noah Williams made, let me see what I had Noah Williams ranked in my corner list, my final list. I had Noah Williams as my number 11 corner. Honestly, that was right in the wheelhouse, but I didn't think there was going to be that many corners on the board right there. And Darian Porter was on the board. He was number 8 for us. That's why we went with him. If we would have somehow just decided that Darian Porter would have been off the board, which he actually did last to the 3rd round.
We could have got him.
Yeah, then I believe that it would have come down to Siobhan Ravel, Noah Williams, Quincy Riley would have been our 3 picks. And again, I don't think they would have took Quincy Riley. So it was very possible that Noah Williams would have been next up on our board, especially with the way he plays. So that's kind of on me in a way because going back and watching more of Noah Williams, it's a perfect Spags guy. And how did I not really relate those two? Because if so, I may have even had him in my top 10 above a guy like maybe above a guy like a Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame.
For sure.
Or Jacob Parrish from K-State. Maybe somebody like that, but I guess that's on me. I probably missed that one. So,
yep. Shout out Buck and Bob with the 5 bombs. It's holy hard schedule, Batman. Most primetime night games in NFL history. The Chiefs' hate will flow with the dark side. Let's freaking go. Mike, Chiefs' hate's going to be at an all-time level this year. I don't think that the Chiefs getting their asses beat in the Super Bowl was enough to appease the hater crowd. I think that was just the tip of the iceberg. That was a little taste. And I think they're going to come with the hate even stronger this year, especially with the Chiefs being right under the spotlight again.
Yeah, well, I mean, you already heard it. We get beat by the Eagles because they had done the Lord's work and called out all the favoritism, and so the NFL didn't do that. And so now this is what the Chiefs. Apparently, Mahomes would have never won a football game if it not be for refs, which is a wild, idiotic take. So yeah, they're expecting that the Chiefs are just going to implode this year, and because we're not going to get all the calls, or the league will, give us all the calls to make up for it. So it doesn't matter which way we go, win or lose, you're going to get the hate. Whatever. It's a hate watch every week. People say they don't watch us, they don't care about us. They obviously care.
Right. They do. The Chiefs are that team, man. They're the most entertaining team in football. Even in their, the last couple of years, with the offense not being high-flying and not scoring a lot of points or anything like that, they still are the most exciting team to watch. Every game seems to come down to the wire. It's always, high ratings. People want to see the Chiefs, and that's exactly why you're going to see them on every freaking holiday, and you're going to see them on a lot of Monday night, Sunday night games. It's just inevitable. All eyes on the Chiefs, whether it's for hate reasons or you love them, People love to hate, though. So I think the NFL is also playing into that, right?
Yeah.
It sells. It sells. Well, we appreciate you guys. Do us a favor. Hit the like button on the way out if you haven't already. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, what in the hell are you waiting for? Click that subscribe button. Hang out with us this season. It's going to be a fun one. Pretty excited to see how it all pans out. Shout out to everybody that donated and gifted memberships, things like that. It goes a long way. We got a really slow start to this month. With Mike having to work on his house for the first 2 weeks of the month. So anything like that is definitely going to help us out tremendously this month for sure. So appreciate you guys. And also going to have some more content coming out. We're going to have some shorts, some videos, more live streams. So be on the lookout for all of that. And you guys have a good day. We'll see you next time, Chiefs Kingdom. Let's go.
Wow.